All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Memorial Day. Welcome to episode 7 of the Robbie Basel Show. I'm your host, Robbie Basel, of course. And before we start, I just have an announcement to make for a stream that's going to be focused on one sport as like a preview of what's going to happen in the summer. June 12th, we are going to do a stream. I might have a guest. I'm possibly thinking about doing it with one. Um, I'm going to preview, or we are going to preview if I get the guests along, um, what's going to be going on in the summer regarding soccer. So international competition. So for reference, we have the CONCACAF Gold Cup and the CONCACAF Nations League final. You have AFCON qualifying in Africa. In Europe, you have Euros qualifying in the European Nation League, and in South America and Asia, you just have friendlies and probably preparation for the Asian Cup in Asia. So I'm going to do a whole stream on that, plus transfers and all that stuff. June 12th at 8 p.m., I believe is going to be the stream. June 12th, 8 p.m., full soccer stream. That is what we're going to be doing. I'm really excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure to check out that stream. We're gonna begin today with something that I didn't list in the Instagram story, and I forgot that June 1st is upcoming. I mean, it's in a couple of days from when we're streaming this, and you have to remember that post June 1st cuts can happen because I forgot. I thought it was July 1st for a second, but it's actually June 1st. And one big player to watch out for a June 1st post June 1st cut is Dalvin Cook. Now, Dalvin Cook has been rumored to possibly take a pay cut, get cut by the Vikings, a lot of stuff with the Vikings. And the money that Minnesota can save from this, according to the report that I'm currently looking at, is $11 million saved in cap space. Really crucial for the Minnesota Vikings if they go out and save the cap space, do everything they need to do. They could possibly go out and sign someone that they may need other position wise in free agency, maybe cut and then re-sign them to a less lower contract financially, with less money for Cook, guaranteed or just total. So right now, the Vikings are at a very interesting spot. It's I think it's very possible that he gets cut on June 1st. I think it's very possible, and the market for the teams for him are going to be actually more than you think. I mean, imagine him just for reference pairing him with Austin Eckler, like a cheaper Austin Eckler, or maybe pair him in Denver, for example. I mean, there's so many options for Dalvin Cook, I think, at the running back position, especially. The amount of teams that may need a running back this season is more than you think. The problem with running backs now, some believe they're getting paid too much and their careers are shorter. Like their primes are shorter, how many times they get hit and how many times they get the ball a game, which debatable. I mean, you saw Ezekiel Elliott's still on the market. It'll be very interesting to see where he lands. But right now with Dalvin Cook, I think it's very possible that he gets cut on June 1st. Minnesota goes out and saves their cap space and goes out and maybe sign another player to their squad that could help them, probably on the defensive side or on offense. That's possible as well. And there's options on for in free agency, and I would not be surprised if will Dalvin Cook doesn't return in a purple jersey in Minnesota next season. It's very possible. I'm interested to see how this all develops. Another fun landing spot I think could be for him. Baltimore. Pair him with Lamar Jackson. And that new passing attack. Very interesting idea. But let's begin with our first major topic of the day, and that is how soccer ended. Just like how we started with soccer in the beginning, let's continue with soccer now. And we're going to begin with the Prem. Uh, just like last video, we're starting with the Premier League, and let me restate what was on the line. So we had Europa Conference League place on the line between Aston Villa, Tottenham, and Brentford. Villa was playing Brighton, which was going to be a very interesting result. If Villa won, they would get the spot automatic. Um, Tottenham was playing Leeds, who were in a relegation battle, and then you had Brentford, who was playing City. You didn't think they're going to get a result. Um, and for the relegation battle, you had Leicester, who needed to win their game. Hope Everton lost. You had Leeds, who was still in the mix. They were playing the aforementioned Tottenham Hotspur, and then you just had Southampton just playing a game for bragging rights against Liverpool. Kicking off with Southampton, that they went out and drew Liverpool 4-4, which this game is mental. And so Southampton goes out and gets their seventh draw of the season, ending the season with 6 wins, 7 draws, and 25 losses, including some draws to some of the better teams in the Prem. It's amazing. I don't know how they do it. They go out and lose to the bad teams and draw the good teams. Very confusing team as a whole. You go down, and another team that was in the relegation battle, Everton, had to go out and win because Leicester went out and beat West Ham 2-1, which is a very crucial result for them because if Everton drew or lost, then Everton would be where Leicester is. But no, Everton went out and won 1-0 over Bournemouth. Also, for context, Tottenham beat Leeds 4-1. So Everton winning, and despite Leicester, the Foxes, who were Premier League champions 7 years ago, will be sent to the championship with Leeds and Southampton. Very sad to see, that's for sure. Leicester going down. They had so much talent a couple of years ago, and now they're falling apart. And it's going to be very interesting to see how much their roster continues to break down once they hit the championship. But back to the race, really, people really cared about Aston Villa and Brighton. Brighton having the last match is probably for McAllister and Caicedo. They went out and lost to Aston Villa, ending this race immediately. Villa made this pretty quick work as well. They went up 2-0 within 26 minutes. Goals by Douglas Luiz and Ollie Watkins. Dennis Undav got a goal for the Seagulls, but it wasn't enough as the Lions of Villa, I believe that's what their team name is. They go out and beat the Seagulls 2-1. Brentford, the Bees, went out and actually beat City after City went out like partying during the week. Brentford, the Bees, won 1-0, courtesy of a goal by Ethan Pinnock in the 85th minute. This is not really the finish City wanted at the end of the year. They actually turned out with only a 5-point cushion at the end of the season after Arsenal went out and beat Wolves 5-0. As I said, they're going to win that game, like I predicted. Goals by Xhaka. He had 2 of them in his last game for Arsenal. It's very sad to see him go. But Bukayo Saka scored with Jesus and Kiwior. So right now, Arsenal get their result. It's unfortunate to see how they ended the year. A weird result that I didn't think was going to happen. Chelsea actually drew Newcastle. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I said they were going to draw, but Anthony Gordon scored, and then Trippier got an own goal. Okay. Chelsea with a very weird finish to the season. Expected to be where Brighton is. They finished in 12th. I'm interested to see who Chelsea sells in the offseason. By the way, notable players that are going to be turning on loan or are transferred. For Leeds United, this is a big one. Weston McKennie, the American central midfielder, is going back to Juventus. They're not triggering the option to buy, so he's going to go back to Juventus in the top flight of Italy after a disappointing run at Leeds United. Leeds is a mess. I don't blame them for not going for the buy option. It was expensive to begin with. For Leicester, they haven't really had like much transfer news to begin with. The big ones, of course, were Brighton, as McAllister is expected to possibly join Liverpool. Caicedo has been targeted by Arsenal. But another one to watch out for, it was in the Bundesliga, and that's where we're going next. For context, the transfer was João Cancelo, the fullback from Man City that was loaned to Bayern. Bayern aren't triggering the buy clause. So he's going to return to Manchester City and likely be put on the transfer list. Teams to watch out for a move like that will be Arsenal, since of the need at the fullback position. They'll probably move him over to the right, pair him with Shinchenko. And there's multiple other clubs. I have a feeling like a team like a Juventus or a Lazio. There's multiple other clubs that, of course, that will be in the mix for him. But if João Cancelo does get put on the transfer list, it'll be very interesting to see for sure. But to continue, the race here was for the title and relegation. We'll begin with the race that no one really cared about, and that was the race in relegation. The teams here were as mentioned from last video, it was Bochum, Augsburg, Stuttgart, and Schalke. Hertha Berlin were out of it, so it didn't really matter. Hertha actually went out and beat Wolfsburg, which I'll tell you how significant that is in a second. Augsburg went out and lost to Mönchengladbach, as I predicted. Um, and then we had Stuttgart go out and draw Hoffenheim with a late equalizer. Um, but the biggest result of them all, Bochum going out and getting Leverkusen got a red card and lost 3-0 to Bochum. Bochum, the worst defense in the league, and it was not even close, goes out and saves himself from relegation from the Bundesliga. They finished in 14th position. Stuttgart and Schalke going out and losing to Leipzig as predicted, and a very disappointing result from Stuttgart as they went on, as mentioned, and drew Hoffenheim. So Stuttgart will play in the relegation playoff. Schalke and Hertha Berlin go back down to the two Bundesliga. But now for the race that everyone cared about, and that was the race for the European positions. Wolfsburg made this really horrible for themselves. They went out and lost. I believe they lost, right? Yeah, they went out and lost to last place Hertha Berlin, which is hilarious because they actually went out and totally blew this because they had a chance to go out and get a playoff spot, the spot that was held by Bayern Leverkusen because Leverkusen went out and lost. Frankfurt made this really interesting because Eintracht Frankfurt had a chance as well for this position. They went out and won, and on goal difference, you will see Bayern Leverkusen in the Conference League. So it was a very weird finish down to the end. Yeah, Leverkusen lost 3-0, but on goal difference, they are saved because Wolfsburg blew it and lost to Hertha Berlin. And now for another race everyone cared about, the race for the last Champions League spot. It was down to two teams. It was Union Berlin and Freiburg. Union Berlin made this really quick. They won 1-0 over Werder Bremen on the last day, as expected. Freiburg went out and lost to Frankfurt, giving Frankfurt a chance. But really, this is for real. How did who won the Bundesliga? It was down to Bayern Munich and Dortmund, as mentioned. Bayern went out quick, took the lead early. Dejan Lucevic. Let me know if I said that wrong. Equalized for Köln, and then Bayern with a late goal by Musiala in the 89th minute gave them a 2-1 victory over Köln. And then, so now it all came down to Dortmund. They had to go out and win, and predictably, they went out and drew. Andres Anse Olsen and Kirim Onisiwo scored two early goals for Mainz. Rafa Guerrero, excuse me, and Nicolas Sule scored the two goals for Dortmund. They went out and drew, and on goal difference, the league went to Bayern, and I hate it because it would have said like, "Oh my goodness, someone else can compete with Bayern," and that is true. They just couldn't close it out, even though Bayern last week went out and lost to Leipzig, which was, granted, it's between the teams that finished first and third in the league. Leipzig, with a very respectable third place finish, 5 points behind the champions. And then Union Berlin, for the first time, will play in the Champions League next season. All these great races came down to the finish. It was crazy. So, for context, we'll just load up the other leagues and see how they finished. Ligue 1, I believe that's how you say it, Ligue 1. I don't know. PSG won Ligue 1 as predicted. Napoli won Serie A. They ran away with it weeks ago. And so we had the Bundesliga go to Bayern, the Prem go to City, La Liga went to Barcelona. You had Ligue 1 went to PSG, and Serie A went to Napoli. That's how the five main leagues finished this season. The Champions League is going to be, I believe, the format's changing next season. I'll do a whole preview of that, probably in late July. Speaking of late July and what we could be watching out for, I'm going to be doing streams. They're not going to be here. They're going to be probably be doing ones. Well, more information will come about this later. I'm gonna be doing streams in Atlanta and in New Rochelle since I'm going to be going to events in Atlanta and New Rock. So we'll be doing streams from there. You won't see the setup probably for like 3 weeks in the middle of July, so early July. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there as well. Um, Big shockers here. Lens went out and got second ahead of Marseille. Stade Reims is like I believe that's how you say it. They had a very interesting season. They got mid-table with Will Still, the I believe the youngest manager in a top five league. Grew up, found his way to coaching through Football Manager, which I think is awesome. Um, Now we're gonna head over to the next topic of the day, and that was on Sunday in Monaco. Did I get the race winner right? Not even close. My prediction was Carlos to win. He finished in eighth because of a stupid pit strategy by Ferrari. As I mean, what else do you expect from them at this point? Um, this was the starting grid from qualifying. This is how they qualified. Actually, no, we'll go with starting grid because there was a big change. Verstappen, then Alonso, then Esteban Ocon, then Sainz, Hamilton, Leclerc, Gasly, Russell, Sonoda, and Lando were the top 10. For reference, Charles got a stupid three-place grid penalty for call it like impeding a lap with Lando, I think is what it was. Um, the big shocker from the end of this was Esteban Ocon getting a podium for Alpine. Wow. I did not expect this. At the end of the day, my podium was Carlos, then Max, then Charles. That was not even close. Max won the race as predicted, which is very predictable, not predicted by me, of course. Then it was Alonso and then Ocon. By the way, Max Verstappen's pole lap. Go watch it. The ending was nuts. I mean, I saw a video of like Nick DeVries and Valtteri Bottas who are like watching the end of it instead of doing their interview, and their reaction just said it all. But right now, best team result. I mean, Mercedes went fourth and fifth. Biggest surprise was, I mean, Sergio Perez crashed in qualifying. He finished in 16th. Big impact for the title race. Max Verstappen now leads by 39 points because of Sergio's miscue in qualifying, and he started last. You don't overtake much in Monaco. So he finishes 16th and now is in second by 39 points and has a 12-point cushion over Alonso for second in the championship. Lewis heads to 69 points. Nice. And George Russell heads to halfway to the century mark with 50. Carlos is in sixth. Um, the team that I'm still surprised about that's doing absolutely nothing. Um, McLaren has now only 17 points, which I was going after them on the Starting Grid podcast. Make sure to check them out on Spotify. I was going after McLaren for having 14 points heading into this race. Um, and then they still only get this is about that episode from weeks ago. But and I went over this on Friday. They went out and got a whole 3 points. Wow. Um, Disappointing teams. I'm still going AlphaTauri. I mean, 2 points. I mean, just to go over that qualifying again. At one point, Lando was P1. Then it was Sonoda. And then we had full purples from like Alex Albon, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. But some cars look quick, and then Max just did his thing and went out and destroyed everyone. But the race ends very anticlimactic as Max goes out and gets his fourth win of the season. Red Bull's won every race. It's probably going to happen the rest of the year. Though I'm interested to watch for the race in Barcelona, which is next. The race is June 4th. It will be at 9 a.m. Eastern time, I believe is what it is. Yep, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Qualifying Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I'm very interested to see how if the car upgrades are more visibly seen in Barcelona, which you hope for at this point, with how Red Bull's running away with it. But I mean, I'm very interested. And this is a fun event to watch out for, that's for sure. With how unpredictable this race can get. I mean, will Max continue his reign as supreme? His supreme reign from the season so far? Will someone else actually do something in a race? Find out as I preview that on Friday. Um, we have two big topics left. And so what we were supposed to do, and this is still driving me nuts, is I was supposed to predict the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals today because I did not think those series would be going on longer. Well, the Celtics decided to drive everything crazy and went out and beat Miami um, on Saturday night in probably the craziest playoff game of this is game of the year. Jason Tatum had 31 and 12. No one really cared about that though because Derek White went out and got the game-winning shot. Now, granted, I don't know about the Jimmy Butler foul. I think a lot of people are still debating about that. Um, but yeah, I mean, Boston's making this fun, and that is my game to watch tonight. Is the Boston Celtics and Miami Heat. Two like this is what drives you nuts as a content creator. Quick PSA. Because you expect this stuff to be done. It's a 3-0 series. You expect them to lie down. And what do? They go out and then win 3 straight games. They go out. Let me go over this again. They went out and won game 4. Okay. Then they went out and won game 5. I'm like, oh, great. Now everyone's screwed. Then they went out and won game 6, making everything unnecessarily crazy. Ahead for the game tonight. Game 7 is at 8:30 on TNT. Who am I predicting to win at this point? I'm just gonna pick Boston because I picked them to go to the finals. At this point, 3-0 comeback. Yeah, that makes sense. And then they're probably gonna go out and lose to the Nuggets, though. I do expect though that series. Let me just preview it. So how we're gonna do this preview is if we're gonna preview each scenario. So if Boston wins and then Miami wins, and same for the NHL ones. We'll start with if Miami wins tonight. Miami has had a very interesting playoff run. We're saying this if they won. So if they won game 7, they went out and beat Boston, the Knicks, and Milwaukee, which is very respectable. But at the same time, it's a big question marks are can they go out and close games? I mean that question mark is going to come up now around game 6 because Max Strus got subbed in and they got out rebounded on the last play. Granted, I think there was a problem with like how they reviewed for the timing of the rest of the game with how much time there was left. I think that's a problem, but that's not my argument to do. Miami, if they go to the finals, will face the Nuggets, who we'll talk about them next. But on Miami, they're one of those squads. They're like really like oddly built. I mean, the Heat, their leading scorers in the playoffs, I believe, have been Butler, Duncan Robinson shot 5 of 11. I believe this was the previous game. Yeah, this is game 6. Max Strus had 10 points. Gabe Vincent came back after missing game 5. He had 15. I think the big contributors here are going to be Butler. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Bam Adebayo and Gabe Vincent. Adebayo didn't score much. And then you see Caleb Martin go out and put up 21 points. There you go. If Bam's off, that's the guy who's probably going to be you're going to go to next. Is going to be Caleb Martin. So there's really 4 players to watch out for on this whole team. There's been some disappointments, that's for sure. Oladipo not even playing. I mean, that's sad. Remember when he was good on the Pacers? Yeah. Good times, right? So I mean, the Heat are a very interestingly built team. I expect them to compete. You expect them to compete with Denver if they get there. But at the same time, will they really like how tired are they going to be ahead of Thursday? But you have to look at this from both ways. And I'll say this for Boston as well. Do you think playing more games and knowing what it's like to play in game speed is better than resting for a while? It's a weird argument. It's weird. It is. Because if you go out and play competitive for 7 games, you may be a little bit tired, but you know what it's like to play game speed. And that's why I like Miami to at least be really competitive against Denver. Same with the Boston Celtics playing Denver. I expect both of them to be very competitive. Do I think Denver wins the series against Miami? Absolutely. I think they beat both of them by Miami or Boston. I'll explain why for Boston in a second. I just think the Nuggets, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. I don't know if Murray will be stopped by Butler or Lowry, whoever they decide they guard him. I think the depth will actually show for the Nuggets, and that's why I think Denver will win it in 6 games. Miami will take at least one early on, start to cause those red flags, but expect Denver to win the NBA Finals in 6 games if that is the series that's going to be happening. For the Boston Celtics, what is going on? You expected them to be down and out of it, down 3-0 and fall apart. No, they decided to, yeah, let's come back. Let's do it. Screw it. Jason Tatum with 31, Jaylen Brown with 26, Marcus Smart with 21, and Derek White had 11, but with the 2 biggest points of the whole damn game. He had the last second putback to put them, I believe it was Derek White, to give them the win. Robert Williams also had 10. He was the only other double-digit scorer that we haven't mentioned yet. Wow. How many players did they play in this game? I want to know this. 1, 2. They played 8 players. Malcolm Brogdon didn't play. Now you're going to start questioning, well, what do you do with him? I believe they traded or signed for him recently. That's really weird to me that Malcolm Brogdon didn't play in game 6. Yeah, it's going to start to raise some questions. Sam Hauser played more than him. So that may be a cause for concern. But right now, I mean, at the end of the day, right now the Celtics are in a very interesting spot. They're the red hot team. They are the team that a lot of people I think are going to pick tonight. If the Celtics do go on to win this series, what a comeback. They're going to have all the momentum going up to play the Denver Nuggets. Right now, do I think they beat the Nuggets? Absolutely not. I think they're too thin. If they play more depth, I think they're going to have a better chance. Like playing a guy like a Malcolm Brogdon if he decides to show up. If he's playing bad, then that's different. But Malcolm Brogdon, I think, can still make a big impact in the finals. Probably more than a Sam Hauser. Though Sam Hauser only played 2 minutes, but their point is still there. Reason Denver wins, I still think I think Boston's gonna have all the momentum. I think Denver's gonna lose game 1 if they play Boston. They're gonna underestimate them a little bit, and Denver's gonna wake up. I think Denver wins this also in 6 games. It should be a fun series though. Either Miami or Denver, or Boston or Denver, which is what I'm hoping for, because that's what I predicted on Into the Stands. I'm hoping that prediction is right. Because that would be I think my most accurate prediction so far from that show would be that. Denver and Boston in the finals. Um, but it's gonna be it's gonna come down to the very end. I can't wait to watch it. It's at 8:30 tonight on Memorial Day. What else is a better way to do it? So that is a fun thing to watch out for. And now you go to the series that's even more confusing. Vegas and Dallas in the Stanley Cup Finals out of the West. For quick recap, they went out and played on Saturday, and Dallas went out and it was 2-2 after 2 periods. And I turned off the game, and then Dallas scores 2 goals, to give them a very convincing win. 4-2 is the final. Goal scorers were by Glendening. Let me know if I said that wrong. Ty Delendra. I definitely said that wrong. And of course, the aforementioned Jason Robertson. Assists for the game were by Kiviranta. There you go. Pavelski, Domi. 2 by Thomas Harley, and 1 by Ryan Suter. And of course, Jake Ottinger having a decent game in net. For Vegas, goals were scored by Barbashev and Stevenson, while assists by Shea Theodore, Jonathan Marchessault, and Jack Eichel. For Vegas, you're falling apart. This series should have been over. You should have won it in game 4. Now you're turning into the situation that the Miami Heat are in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. Same deal. What is going on? Like, how are you letting this happen? If they do this collapse, that's like one of the biggest collapses I've seen. Toronto Maple Leafs-esque. But it speaks so much to what Vegas has done. Remember, Vegas in their inaugural season made the finals. That's the last time they were there. I believe, is when they lost to the Capitals. Remember then COVID, in the COVID season, they went out and lost to the Canadians. They've fallen apart in other series as well. But Vegas is in a situation they just need to screw their heads on, head down to the Lone Star State and go out and win a game. Granted, they've done it before. They went out in the regular season, did it? They went out and beat them 4-0 in game 3. But I mean, how are you letting this happen? Granted, game 4 was madness. Game 5 was interesting. But for Vegas, they need to win this game tonight. So if you go to game 7, I mean, I would still pick Vegas to win. They had more wins. I think they're the better team than Dallas. I know a lot of people are rooting for Joe Pavelski and all of those guys. But I mean, how are you letting this happen? That's my question. I mean, the Stars. I mean, you'd be sad to see a guy like a Tyler Seguin go out and lose for how much like stuff he's been through injury wise. But I mean, Joe Pavelski, man, it'd be sad to see him go out and lose. But Vegas, the better team, has to go out and win. I mean, Aiden Hill in goal. I know they've been injured to hell and back, but geez, they need a goaltender next year. That's all I know. Um, but I think a player that needs to step up has been I'm going to go William Karlsson, who granted in the postseason has 8 goals and 3 assists with 11 total points. And he scored 3 goals in the series. He's only scored in 2 of the 5 games in the series and has done absolutely nothing other than in the others. I mean, he scored 2 goals in the first game, and he scored 0, 0, 1, and 0. He has no assists. It's been very inconsistent. And I think William Karlsson will be a player to watch out for tonight in game 6. He is my guy to watch out for. I'm giving you a player to watch. I'm going with William Karlsson. I mean, and I think it's a fair pick. But I think as well, I think Riley Smith can get on the score sheet tonight. Him and Marchessault, I think. I mean, Riley Smith, I think, has been falling a little bit under the radar because of how he has 7 assists in the playoffs. Jonathan Marchessault, I think, has been great. I think it's going to come down to Karlsson. I think if Karlsson has a big game, I think Vegas wins. Who wins tonight? I have no idea. And that's what I love about these playoffs. You have absolutely no idea. It's so unpredictable. But now I'm going to dive into Dallas. What a fight they've had. I mean, Jason Robertson's been great. I mean, let's look at the stats of Joe Pavelski. 9 goals and 5 assists in the postseason. He scored in game 4. He has had 1 goal and 3 assists in the series against Vegas. Granted, that is better than some of the players that I've mentioned before. But for Dallas as a whole, in a must-win game tonight, it's going to be interesting. They fought so hard all season. I mean, let's look at who they've beaten. You went for context in the playoffs. I believe for Vegas. Let's look at them real quick. Actually, not Vegas. Excuse me. The Dallas Stars. Still talking about Vegas. My goodness. They went out and beat the Kraken, and then they've gone out and in the Western Conference semifinals, they beat Minnesota, then beat the Kraken, which I wanted the Kraken to win that series. And then I've gone out to try and make the miraculous comeback against the Vegas Golden Knights. Who do they need? I mean, they need a lot of things to go their way. And I mean, Jason Robertson, he has to be the guy to watch out for. 6 goals, 11 assists in the playoffs. He scored 5 goals in this series with an assist. He's been that guy. The only game he didn't score was in game 3 when they got ran off the ice. By the way, the score of game 3 was a predictable 4-2. But I mean, there's a lot of players you can watch out for tonight. I mean, who do I think is gonna be that underrated guy that scores tonight? How about a role player? I think Max Domi has played all right in the playoffs. Wyatt Johnston, I think, has played all right. I mean, he's only had 6 points, but I think he can still make an impact. I want Tyler Seguin to score. I really like Tyler Seguin as a person. Roop Hintz. I believe has a goal in the series as well. But my player to watch out for tonight is going to be, of course, the aforementioned Jason Robertson. I think he's going to get at least one goal tonight. How many assists? We'll find out. Who do I have winning? But for Dallas, if they make the finals, what a run it'd be for them. But now the finals. Who's the team that they're playing? Florida Panthers. Florida Panthers. What a run they've had. You want to talk about absolute chaos? The Southeast is going bonkers right now. I mean, look what Miami has done in the last few months. The Dolphins made the playoffs. The Marlins are turning a corner. The Heat are in the Eastern Conference Finals, a game away from going to the NBA Finals. And you have a team in the Stanley Cup Finals in the Miami and the Florida Panthers. So like the Miami-ish region, you had Tampa Bay success. Florida is going crazy. And who else to explain this reasoning than the Florida Panthers, who have shown out these playoffs? They went out, came back from down 3-1 to go out and beat Boston. Then they won in 5 against the Leafs. Then they went out and swept Carolina. Who else would have predicted that? The Panthers are in the Stanley Cup Finals, and I think a big reason for that has been Carter Verhaeghe, who had 42 goals in the regular season. Matthew Tkachuk in the regular season had 69 assists and 109 total points. He had 40 goals as well. So they're getting a lot of interesting contributors. Let's look at the postseason. Your leading point scorer has been the aforementioned Matthew Tkachuk, who got traded from the Panthers. Got traded from the Flames to the Panthers. He has 21 points, 9 goals, 12 assists. Carter Verhaeghe has 15 points with 6 and 9. Alexander Barkov has 4 goals, 10 assists. Sam Reinhart has been interesting. 7 goals, 4 assists. Pretty good for Sam Reinhart. Montour has been the best defender. He's had 6 goals with 3 assists and 9 total points. So the Panthers are a very interesting team as well. I don't think anyone really expected them to be this competitive. Player to watch out for in this series, other than Tkachuk and Verhaeghe, I'm going to go with Sam Reinhart. The 7 goals, 4 assists. I think he's going to be a weapon in the playoffs in the finals for sure. Along, of course, with Verhaeghe and Tkachuk. Interesting to see if they really how interesting they're going to how interesting the series is going to be. I think Florida is going to be very physical, very competitive. I mean, they went out and beat the Hurricanes, who beat the Devils, who beat the Rangers, who I had going to this spot was the New York Rangers, and now then they lost to New Jersey, and then New Jersey went out to Carolina, and the Carolina got ran off the ice by Florida. So Florida has all the momentum. Kind of like what Denver did. I mean, Denver, you can compare this to the NBA Finals, except the roles are reversed. The West is competitive in the NHL, while the East was settled very easily. In the NBA final and the NBA playoffs, it's the East that's going to absolute insanity, and the West that got settled pretty easily by my predicted champion Nuggets. Who do I have winning a series? I think Florida wins the series if Vegas goes out and loses. If it's Dallas and Florida, I would go with Florida. I mean, it'll be another champion in the Southeast, but I think Florida would have the momentum. I just think Vegas is the better team. But it's gonna come down to the wire. Who do I have winning tonight? Is the question. Game 6 tonight in Dallas. I'm gonna say Dallas wins and forces a game 7 on Wednesday, which I think Vegas wins game 7. But wow, how are we getting to this point where we're gonna have possible game sixes and sevens when we thought these series were over? That is what you love about playoff sports. Anything can happen. Just like in sports, like I said, anything can happen. Baseball can be the same way. If the Mets actually want to wake up and actually play baseball, that would be nice as well. Just throwing some heat out there. So like I said, what to watch out for this week. June 1st, I would be going immediately to Twitter to check out who gets cut from the NFL with the post June 1st cuts. That's something to watch out for sure. Tonight, of course, on Memorial Day with the 2 playoff games, and possibly Wednesday with the possible game 7 in the NHL playoffs. I believe the NBA finals starts on Monday. Like I said, to restate the announcement from earlier, June 12th, I'm going to be doing a stream all soccer related. I'll give you full updates and analysis on transfers and previews for tournament finals and qualifying for other tournaments. And a preview of the Gold Cup. And don't worry, I'll be wearing a USA jersey for that, of course. So a lot to watch out for this week and a lot to preview soon. But we'll do that in the upcoming stream on Friday. But for now, I'm Robbie Basel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment what you want to see on Friday. And make sure to follow the Instagrams, Into the Stands, which is my other show, which I do with Colin McGee and Chris Gambino. It's an awesome show. That'll be returning soon, hopefully soon. And of course, my show, Robbie Basel Show. Make sure the Instagram handle at the Robbie Basel Show is in the description. And of course, you can like it, of course, on Instagram. But for now, I'm Robbie Basel. So long. We'll see you guys on Friday.